The story opens with a ruthless crime boss holding a meeting alongside his crew, reminding them that they've been running their underground operation for over 15 years. From the start, it's obvious this man has zero respect for human life. He literally uses people as furniture, forcing some to act as chairs while even turning someone's hand into an ashtray. Today is a special milestone for their organization, so they decide to celebrate. A man wearing glasses pours a glass of wine and hands it to a tester, whose job is to take the first sip and confirm it's not poisoned. After tasting it, the tester confidently declares that it's safe. With no hesitation, the boss pours himself a drink and takes a sip. But within seconds, his body gives out, and he collapses. The room erupts into chaos as the others immediately grab the tester, assuming he betrayed them. However, the real culprit is revealed to be the man who poured the drink in the first place, Jiro. With the mission complete, Jiro changes back into his normal clothes and heads home. On his way, though, he gets distracted after spotting a stunning blonde woman kissing a man inside a car. Completely absorbed by the scene, he ends up walking straight into a wall. Later that night, Jiro relaxes at home with some ice cream while his younger sister, Akari, questions how he managed to poison the boss without the tester noticing. Jiro calmly explains that it wasn't a quick trick. It took months of preparation. Over the course of 3 months, he secretly fed the tester tiny doses of poison, gradually building up his immunity. By the time the plan was executed, the tester could withstand even lethal amounts, making the poison undetectable during the test. Akari is stunned by the level of dedication it must have taken, and Jiro admits it wasn't easy. But that's exactly why their methods work. No one expects that kind of long-term strategy in the world of assassins. Changing the subject, Akari suddenly asks if he's ever thought about getting married, nearly causing him to choke on his dessert. Jiro believes his chances of marriage are practically non-existent, especially given his dangerous lifestyle and lack of interaction with women. He recalls how their grandmother wants one of them to take over the Poison Clan, and when he refused because he was still single, she tried to force him into an arranged marriage with someone from a branch family. Jiro knows that if he remains unmarried, the legacy of the Poison Masters will end with him. Akari agrees, joking that it's hard to imagine women lining up for him anyway. Not long after, Jiro receives a message from the Bugmaster and heads out to meet him for food. As they chat, Jiro mentions that he's resigned himself to living alone forever. Surprisingly, the Bugmaster reveals that he's actually planning to get married soon to a gentle and quiet girl he recently met. Jiro is caught off guard, as he always assumed his friend would remain single for life. Still, the Bugmaster reassures him that marriage won't change their friendship. With that said, he activates his insect-like legs and prepares to leave. Before he goes, Jiro stops him and admits that he's always viewed marriage in a negative light, but after hearing him speak so positively about it, he's starting to reconsider. Maybe it's not such a bad thing after all. The following day, Jiro heads out for another assignment. On the way, the man who hired him starts rambling about the women working at his office, but Jiro quickly shuts it down, reminding him to stay focused on the mission. Soon after, the client introduces him to the next target on his list. The next target is a woman named May, a notorious marriage scammer known for deceiving countless people. The client explains that she's caused serious trouble and he wants Jiro to eliminate her. Without hesitation, Jiro approaches and injects her with a special toxin. He calmly explains that the poison will soon trigger intense nerve paralysis, hinting at slowly spreading toward her brain. According to him, within moments she'll feel unbearable pain, as if her body is being ripped apart from the inside. But instead of panicking, May does something completely unexpected. She starts flirting with him. Jiro remains unfazed, assuming it's just a desperate attempt to escape death. However, May admits that while she did scam people, it wasn't purely out of greed. She reveals that she's been doing it to pay for her younger brother's medical treatment. She took every risky opportunity she could find, even jobs she could never speak about to anyone. But despite all that, it still wasn't enough. As the poison begins to take effect, she coughs up blood but continues speaking. With a faint smile, she says that if she's going to die, at least she's glad it's in front of someone who reminds her of the man she truly cares about. Then, Looking directly into his eyes, she asks him to tell her his name before the end. Caught slightly off guard, Jiro feels a rare sense of warmth and quietly tells her. Elsewhere, the client watches everything unfold through a monitor. Some of the women nearby begin to question why it's taking so long, wondering if Jiro is really as skilled as people claim. But the client quickly shuts them down, reminding them that Jiro comes from one of the most respected assassin families. There's no doubt he'll finish the job. Back with Jiro, he finds himself strangely conflicted, even questioning whether Mei's feelings might be genuine. At that moment, his sister, Akari, calls. She informs him that she's decided to return to the main house and to take responsibility for producing the next heir of their family. Apparently, a member of a branch family is also searching for a partner. So she plans to marry him. Jiro immediately objects, telling her she doesn't have to go that far. But Akari explains that their grandmother is completely serious. If she refuses, she'll lose her freedom and be forced into it anyway. So she'd rather make the decision herself. When Jiro asks about her girlfriend, Akari calmly says she'll have to end that relationship. That's when Jiro tells her to wait and not make any sudden decisions. He then turns back to Mei and does something completely unexpected. He asks her to marry him. Jiro explains that becoming the head of the Poison Clan requires him to be married, and since she seems to have feelings for him, he wants her to be the one. He also promises that he can help treat her younger brother's illness. For a brief moment, Mei looks up at him with a bright, almost hopeful expression, one that even makes Jiro smile. But just as quickly, her face turns cold. She refuses. Mei admits that she already knew she was going to die, so she simply decided to take one last chance for her own amusement. Now, she's ready to accept her fate. She goes on to explain that real relationships aren't built like this. People fall in love and get married because they truly belong together. In Jiro's case, she says, he's not someone who can offer that. His life is too unstable, too dangerous. He could disappear at any moment. And more importantly, a marriage built only for obligation or inheritance will never last. She tells him that if he truly wants to be a good partner someday, he needs to start by being honest with himself about what he really feels. Hearing this, something finally changes in Jiro. For the first time, he opens up. He admits that despite being raised as a cold-blooded assassin, he still longs for a peaceful life. Deep down, he wants someone he can genuinely love, someone who will accept him for who he is and care about his feelings. Jiro admits that a normal life like that feels completely out of reach for him. He never went to a regular school, never had the chance to meet girls, and has spent his entire life as a poison master. From a young age, he was trained to suppress his emotions and never let anyone get close. Hearing this, Mei suddenly laughs. It surprises Jiro, especially since they've only just met, yet he's already opened up to her. She tells him that maybe it's not as complicated as he thinks. If he simply meets more people, eventually he'll find someone who truly connects with him. Then, with a quiet voice, she tells him to go ahead and finish the job. As she says that, tears begin to fall. The reality hits her. Once she's gone, her younger brother will have no one left to cover his medical expenses. Just then, the handler bursts in with his crew, demanding that Jiro stop wasting time and eliminate her immediately. But Jiro refuses. He declares that he won't kill Mei because he needs her. He reasons that if she was capable of manipulating relationships well enough to infiltrate their circle, then she must have real talent when it comes to connecting people. So instead, he offers her a deal. He'll protect both her and her brother, and in return, she'll help him find someone to marry. Mei is caught completely off guard. No one has ever said anything like that to her before, and for a moment, she seems both shocked and intrigued. But suddenly, a bullet whizzes past her face. The handler, now furious, declares that Jiro has become a liability. If he kills him, the heir to the Poison Clan, it would elevate his own status instantly. Jiro calmly responds that the handler and his group prey on innocent people, stealing their livelihoods and blackmailing them. Unlike them, he only eliminates those he believes deserve it, which means they're all targets. Without hesitation, Jiro injects himself with a special serum. His body reacts instantly, his eyes glow green, and he equips a gas mask as the toxin enhances his abilities. The room erupts into gunfire. But when the shooting stops, both Jiro and Mei have vanished. Moments later, the handler looks up and spots them clinging to the ceiling. By the time he realizes what's happening, it's already over. One by one, his men collapse, their bodies weakened and unable to move. Jiro has already poisoned them all. Mei watches in shock, finally understanding just how skilled Jiro truly is. With everything settled, Jiro calls Akari and tells her not to break up with her girlfriend. He's made his decision. He'll be the one to get married and take over as the next head of the Poison Clan. Hearing this, Akari is genuinely relieved. Meanwhile, the handler tries to make a desperate escape, only to run straight into a one-way mirror and trap himself. Before he can recover, Jiro finishes him off with a poison needle, leaving him just as helpless as the rest. Afterward, Jiro and Mei leave the building and head toward a taxi. Since Mei can't move due to the lingering effects of the toxin, she asks Jiro to carry her. Jiro immediately panics. He's never had physical contact with a woman outside of work before. But then Mei casually drops a bombshell. She reveals that she's actually a man. The statement completely stuns Jiro, leaving him speechless. Later, at a hotel, Jiro confirms the truth for himself. Curious, he asks why Mei dresses as a woman. Mei explains that it's all part of the act. He appears as a woman when targeting men, and as a man when targeting women. For him, it's simply more entertaining to play both sides. Then, with confidence, Mei promises Jiro something bold. By the time he's done helping him, Jiro will be able to attract both men and women. Without wasting time, Mei signs Jiro up for a matchmaking event and tells him to fill out his details. The next day, they attend the event, only to realize there's a major imbalance. Far more men than women. So Mei steps in. Disguising himself as a woman once again, he effortlessly draws the attention of many of the men in the room, reducing the competition and giving Jiro a much better chance. As the event continues, Jiro quickly realizes just how important first impressions really are. Seeing this, Mei decides that instead of forcing things, they need to uncover Jiro's natural charm and bring it out properly. When Jiro approaches his first match, he immediately starts by bragging about earning millions every year. Instead of being impressed, the girl instantly loses interest and turns him down. When he reports back, Mei isn't surprised at all. He explains that leading with money only makes him seem arrogant, not attractive. Taking that advice, Mei tells him to try smiling more. However, when Jiro attempts this with another group, his expression comes off stiff and unnatural, making everyone uncomfortable. Unsurprisingly, he gets rejected again. By the end of the day, Jiro is completely drained. Nothing went the way he expected, and frustration starts to set in. But Mei isn't done yet. He reveals that he already signed Jiro up on a dating app, and even arranged a date for him. Later that evening, Jiro goes on the date, but runs into another problem. Because of his training as a poison master, he's never allowed himself to eat food prepared by others. So he hesitates and hesitates, until by the time he finally builds up the courage to take a bite, his date has already given up and left. After that disaster, they decide to call it a day and try again tomorrow. But just as Mei is heading home, everything suddenly takes a turn. A jeep speeds past, and in an instant, someone grabs Mei and drags him inside before the vehicle races off. Jiro witnesses everything and immediately gives chase, but the car is too fast. Inside the vehicle, one of the men interrogates Mei, demanding to know what he did to his older brother, the handler from earlier, and why he abandoned their organization. Mei insists he knows nothing, but they don't believe him. One of them fires a small lead pellet straight from his mouth, striking Mei and causing visible pain. Even then, Mei refuses to talk. As they prepare to attack again, the driver suddenly spots Jiro standing directly in the road ahead. Instead of slowing down, they try to run him over. At the last possible second, Jiro leaps into the air, clearing the vehicle, and counters with a powerful strike using a special thermal poison. The impact is devastating, slicing the speeding Jeep clean in half. Without wasting a second, Jiro chases after the wreckage. As Mei's half of the car begins to slide off a bridge, Jiro reaches him just in time and pulls him to safety, while the rest of the vehicle crashes into the water below. Catching his breath, Jiro hands Mei the phone he dropped during the chaos and quietly thanks him for everything. And that's where the first episode comes to an end. Call to action optional. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, and check out the next part right now. The next day, May hands Jiro a flyer and tells him to meet her at the Avocado Oceanic Art Gallery the following afternoon. Jiro is completely confused. He has no clue what an art gallery on a cruise ship has to do with improving his charm, but May simply tells him to trust her and go along with the plan. When the day arrives, Jiro meets May at the ship's entrance, and he's instantly taken aback by how stunning she looks. Together, they head inside the gallery, and Jiro is immediately blown away by the beautiful scenery. Still, he can't quite understand why she brought him there. May finally explains that this is going to be a practice run, a mock first date, with her acting as his partner. She tells him that even if he managed to get a real date, his current behavior would ruin it. So instead, she wants him to gain some experience beforehand. As their date begins, May starts scoring him, deducting points whenever he acts too stiff or awkward. At first, things don't go well, but everything changes when Jiro suddenly stops after spotting a rare 40-year-old DIY candy kit worth over 30 million yen. For some reason, this sparks something in him, and he begins talking naturally and confidently. Without even trying, he ends up having a genuinely charming conversation with May. Impressed, May immediately rewards him with bonus points. For the first time, she starts to believe he actually has potential. Later, May points out a strange man sitting nearby, acting oddly on the floor, and asks Jiro what he thinks. Jiro assumes the man might be homeless or mentally unstable. But moments later, a group of tourists rush over to him in excitement. May reveals that the man is actually Mr. Shiratori, one of the country's most famous young artists. She uses him as an example, explaining that people are drawn to others because of their unique talents. Even if someone seems strange at first, their abilities can completely win people over. Jiro understands the point, but he doubts he has anything special about him. May quickly disagrees. She reminds him of the time he took down a room full of dangerous men and rescued her on his own. To her, that's part of his charm. She then advises him to forget dating apps and matchmaking events. Instead, she suggests he should focus on helping people, rescuing others, protecting lives, and letting people naturally notice him through his actions. Jiro is surprised by this idea since he's a poison master whose job usually involves killing, but May tells him there's nothing stopping him from choosing to help others too. That thought sticks with him. Later that night, the guards discover that a valuable piece of artwork has gone missing. They immediately suspect Hankawa and report the situation to the ship's pilot, who begins scanning for any boats that may have left the cruise. When the search turns up nothing, the crew concludes that Hankawa is still somewhere on the ship. What they don't realize is that she has already escaped deep beneath the ocean, riding alongside her shark, Kishiki, as she heads toward land. As she reaches the shore and spots her teammates waiting for her, she thinks she's finally safe. But out of nowhere, a powerful whirlpool forms, dragging her teammates under and catching her completely off guard. In the next moment, a figure dressed in white drops down toward her. Meanwhile, Jiro and May are at the buffet, and Jiro can't stop thinking about the idea of helping people. Curious, he asks May where he can find jobs like that. She introduces him to a site called DarkNav, a platform listing missions ranging from capturing criminals to stopping smuggling operations. Jiro is surprised he's never heard of it, explaining that he usually gets assignments through brokers. As he scrolls through the listings, one mission catches his attention: a rescue operation involving Hankawa. According to the report, she's been captured by a group of bandits demanding the return of confiscated artwork in exchange for her freedom. While many see Hankawa as a notorious thief, the truth is far more complicated. She actually targets corrupt collectors who steal from the defenseless and secretly returns those pieces to their rightful owners. Because of this, she has built a loyal following, and it's her own fan club that hired Jiro for the rescue. May isn't surprised that Jiro is the only one who accepted the job. The risk is high, and the reward is low, which scares most people away. But she sees it as the perfect chance for him to stand out and play the hero. When Jiro introduces himself as a poison master, the men who hired him are stunned. They never expected someone of his level to show up. Elsewhere, Hankawa's captor leans in and tries to persuade her to join his side, even complimenting her beauty. But she firmly rejects him. May making it clear that she only steals for causes she believes in. She reveals her goal is to return every stolen artwork to its rightful owner, including a painting that belonged to a little girl whose mother had passed away. Hankawa had promised to get it back no matter what. Annoyed by her defiance, the captor calls over Ushio, who grabs her and pours liquid over her without hesitation. But before things escalate further, the boss orders Ushio to deal with intruders who have just broken in. At the same time, Jiro and Mei begin their mission, moving through the building until they suddenly run into armed guards. Without hesitation, Jiro steps in front of Mei and takes both guards down instantly with a single swift move. Seeing this, Mei briefly considers stepping back from the mission, but Jiro reaches out, helps her up, and tells her he needs her by his side. That alone gives her the confidence to keep going. As they push forward, Jiro starts quietly practicing what he plans to say to Hankawa when he meets her. Soon after, they encounter another group of guards, but once again, Jiro handles them effortlessly, taking them down one by one while casually rehearsing his lines mid-fight. The two then step into an elevator and descend to the lower level. Back with Hankawa, the boss suddenly points a gun at her. At first, she thinks he intends to kill her, but instead, he aims at a painting. He threatens to destroy it unless she obeys him. Realizing it's the same painting she promised to return to the little girl, Hankawa has no choice but to comply. Then, out of nowhere, the boss's arms are suddenly blown off. He panics as a strange entity emerges, enters his body, and appears to burn him alive from within. But none of it is real. It's all an illusion, caused by poison Jiro had already planted earlier. As the hallucination takes hold, Jiro calmly steps forward and introduces himself to Hankawa, declaring that he's the poison master sent to rescue her. Hankawa is left completely stunned that someone of his level came personally to save her. Hankawa quickly tells Jiro that she doesn't even have enough money to pay him for rescuing her. That completely throws him off, since he didn't think past his introduction and now has no idea what to say next. Just then, Mei rushes in and starts trying to free Hankawa from her restraints. But out of nowhere, Ashio appears behind them and grabs Hankawa, locking her in place. Without hesitation, Jiro injects himself with an enhancement serum that massively boosts his physical strength. He charges straight at Ashio, but she suddenly vanishes and reappears elsewhere, leaving Hankawa exposed in the chaos. Thinking fast, Jiro tosses Hankawa toward Mei so she can keep her safe. At that moment, Ashio launches a powerful counterattack using water-based strikes. The impact is so intense that it shatters the floor beneath them, sending both fighters crashing down to a lower level where the battle continues. Ashio quickly closes the distance again, but instead of attacking, she suddenly apologizes for not introducing herself earlier and calmly hands Jiro her business card. She already knows he's a poison master. Rather than continuing the fight, she proposes a deal. Revealing that she's a water master, Ashio explains that a full battle between two masters would cause massive destruction, far beyond what Jiro is being paid for. So she offers him 10 times his original reward if he agrees to walk away and abandon the mission. Meanwhile, Mei watches everything unfold, completely confused by the sudden shift. At that moment, Jiro's syringe rolls across the floor toward her. She notices there's still some liquid inside and reaches for it. But Jiro immediately shouts, warning her not to touch it. Ashio instantly realizes the truth. That's no ordinary serum, it's a deadly poison. She explains that masters possess altered bloodlines tied to their abilities. For poison masters, their bodies actually grow stronger when exposed to lethal toxins. But Jiro corrects her. It's not just a power, it's also a curse. Once activated, it forces them to finish their target before their own body collapses. Jiro then assumes Ashio must have a similar enhanced bloodline, even though her water abilities look almost like magic. But she ignores the comment and asks him one last time if he's willing to settle things peacefully. When Jiro refuses again, the fight resumes instantly. At first, Ashio clearly has the upper hand, overwhelming him with her attacks. But Jiro quickly turns things around by coating her glove with a special thermal poison, causing it to explode on impact. That brief opening is all he needs. He follows up with precise strikes, hitting the exact same spot multiple times with incredible accuracy. As Ashio struggles to recover, she's left stunned, unable to understand how he managed such perfect precision. Then Jiro finally speaks. He says he's doing all of this for Hankawa. Even though they've only just met, he believes she could become someone important to him. And because of that, he's willing to risk everything, even his life, on that possibility. That's the end of episode 2. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.